The faint sounds of a bustling Lagos street vibrated as Tolani sat quietly in her tiny hair salon, twisting strands of a client's natural hair between her fingers. The air was warm and heavy with the smell of shea butter and freshly brewed tea. Her apprentice, Sade, quietly swept the floor, the rhythmic swish of the broom filling the silence. As they worked, the door swung open with a loud creak. Two women, known for spreading the neighborhood's juiciest gossip, entered with wide eyes and shocking news. "Tolani," one of them called, their voices dripping with urgency. "Have you heard? Kunle is getting engaged." Tolani's hand paused mid-twist, tension tightening her fingers around the hair. "To who?" she asked, her heart thudding, pretending ignorance. "Some girl from Ibadan," the second woman replied, eyes glistening. "Big party on Saturday. Everyone's invited." Tolani's grip loosened, fingers turning numb. "Thanks for telling me." She forced a smile, hiding the storm inside her. That evening, Tolani sat on her porch, the night air cool on her skin. Her best friend Funke was beside her, peeling an orange. "He still hasn't contacted you?" Funke asked, glancing up. "No, it's like he vanished into thin air after borrowing my savings," Tolani replied bitterly, her voice tinged with a mix of anger and disbelief. "I thought we were planning our future, not his with someone else." Funke shook her head. "Men and their deceit. What will you do?" "I don't know yet," Tolani admitted, staring into the distance, "but I can't let this go." The news of Kunle's engagement party spread like wildfire. By Thursday, it was all anyone could talk about. The women in the salon discussed dress choices as Tolani absent-mindedly braided hair, lost in thought. "Are you going, Auntie Tola?" Sad asked innocently, not knowing the wound she was poking at. "Of course I am," Tolani replied without hesitation, surprising even herself. "I wouldn't miss it for the world." On Saturday morning, the market was alive with the vibrant colours of pepper sellers, fishmongers, and fabric traders. Tolani navigated through the crowd with purpose, searching for the perfect dress to wear. "A fine cloth for a fine occasion, N?" the vendor asked, holding up a shimmering piece of Ankara. Tolani offered a curt nod. "Yes, very fine." "What a celebration it will be," the vendor exclaimed, unaware of the significance this celebration held for Tolani. Night fell, and Tolani arrived at the ornate hall lit up with colourful lights and echoing with laughter and joy. She entered unnoticed initially, the murmur of familiar voices masking her arrival. Tolani spotted Kunle across the room. He was laughing, surrounded by friends, his arm draped around the shoulders of a woman she didn't recognize. Tolani's heart twisted, but she steadied herself. This was not the time to crumble. As the speeches began, Tolani moved closer, weaving through the crowd. The MC called for a toast, raising a glass to celebrate love and new beginnings. In that harmonious moment, Tolani stepped forward. "Excuse me," she said, her voice cutting through the hum. Guests turned, startled by the interruption. Tolani's eyes locked onto Kunle, whose expression froze in disbelief. "I have something to say," she continued, her voice unwavering despite the tension in the room. She felt the weight of every eye on her, judgment and curiosity mingling in the air. "I'm Tolani," she started, letting the silence stretch. "For those who don't know me, I'm the woman who lent Kunle a substantial amount of money for what I thought was our future together." Gasps rippled through the audience, whispers bubbling like a breach in calm waters. Kunle's face flushed, his grip on the microphone slipping. "Tolani, this isn't the place." "Oh, but Kunle," she interjected, her voice rising with each word. "This is exactly the place. Everyone should know who they're celebrating." The bride-to-be, standing by Kunle, looked from Tolani to Kunle, understanding dawning on her face like a harsh light. "How else would I get an audience so diverse to hear what a deceptive man you are?" Tolani continued, her emotions boiling over. "I gave you everything, supported your dreams, and this is how you repay me?" The room tensed, held hostage by the unexpected spectacle. Tolani waited for Kunle to respond, but he was silent, shame and panic painting his face. "You've embarrassed yourself enough," he finally said of us, in a low voice, the bravado gone. "Embarrassed myself," Tolani echoed, staring him down with a fierceness that cut deeper than any insult. "No, Kunle, I'm just exposing the truth." The crowd murmured, eyes wide, the weight of public opinion shifting visibly against Kunle. Tolani's gaze shifted to the bemused guests. Somewhere, a woman is watching this, feeling alone, used, fooled. "You're not alone," she declared. Kunna's friends backed away slowly, their camaraderie dissolving as they realized their complicity. With a calm she hadn't expected to find, Tolani turned towards the exit, head high, dignity intact. "Enjoy the rest of your party," she added over her shoulder, leaving behind the crowd, the laughter now replaced with an awkward hum. Outside, the night air was cool and fresh as Tolani paused to catch her breath. It felt like victory, even if her heart still ached. Funke approached quietly. "You did it," she said gently. Tolani nodded. "Yes, but it's just the beginning." Funke handed her a small box, her eyes bright with purpose. "Take it. A little something to start over." Tolani accepted it with a weak smile. "You're too kind." Together they walked into the night, a sense of calm surrounding them. "I won't stop here," Tolani confided, determination hardening her voice. "I'll get back every naira he took." Funke squeezed her friend's arm, unspoken support radiating through the gesture. And then, under the glow of streetlights, Tolani paused, a new resolve setting in. There would be more to this story: justice, understanding, healing. But for now, her next steps were her own. The door to the small apartment creaked as Tolani pushed it open, her movements burdened by the events earlier that night. Funke followed quietly behind her, both women glancing at each other silently, the weight of their shared experience hanging in the air like a lingering rain cloud. "I still can't believe you did that," Funke said, finally breaking the silence as she placed the box she'd given Tolani on the small dining table. Tolani chuckled, though there was no humour in it. Her eyes, still steely with resolve, gave nothing away of the turbulence beneath. "When someone takes everything from you, you have nothing left to lose," she replied, her voice breaking on the last word. Funke drew a stool next to Tolani and sat down. "But Tola, going after every naira might not give you what you think it will," she said, choosing her words with the care of someone defusing a bomb. Tolani's eyes flared. "He owes me, Funke. He owes me everything," she retorted, fists tightening on her knees. "Yes, but at what cost?" Funke pressed gently, searching her friend's face for a spark of the kind-hearted girl she'd grown up with. Tolani opened the box Funke had given her earlier to find a well-worn Bible, her name engraved on the cover in fading gold letters. "The Bible? Really?" Tolani asked, a bittersweet smile tugging at her lips as she lifted it out of the box. Funke nodded, her face earnest. "Mama always said our strength isn't in taking back what's ours, but in finding peace when the world does its worst." Tolani shook her head, setting the Bible aside. "I'm not ready for peace, Funke. Not yet." The early morning sun peeked through the curtains, casting long shadows over the room as Tolani lay on her bed, staring at the ceiling. Sleep had evaded her, thoughts of Coonley and the night's events replaying on a loop. Her phone buzzed with messages and missed calls, but she ignored them all. Finally, she reached for the Bible, flicking it open absent-mindedly. Her eyes landed on a verse her mother had underlined long ago, Matthew 18:21-22, about forgiving not just 7 times, but 77 times. A faint ache twisted in her chest. Determined not to give in to old sentiments, Tolani pulled herself out of bed. Outside, Funke was already waiting with breakfast, her expression calm but concerned. "Did you sleep at all?" Funke asked, pouring tea into a cup and handing it over. Tolani shrugged, brushing off the question. "I needed time to think." Funke studied her friend, silence draping over them like a comforting blanket. Later that day, Tolani returned to her salon, her mind on her next steps. Her path for justice felt clear, even if her heart wavered. As she sat arranging her tools, the doorbell jangled, announcing the arrival of Pastor James, a family friend who frequented the neighborhood. "Tolani, it's been too long," he greeted, his voice booming yet warm. "Pastor, how are the children?" she replied, genuinely pleased to see him. They're fine, he said, settling into a chair. "But I've heard some things. I thought I should come check on you." Tolani knew what he meant, but she didn't falter. "I'm okay, Pastor," she said simply. He nodded, but his eyes knew more than he let on. "Tolani, I heard about Kunla's engagement party. He paused, carefully choosing each word. This road of revenge. It's a heavy burden to carry alone. Tolani's resolve hardened, but Pastor James continued, his voice gentle. Sometimes, what we seek is not the justice we think, but the healing only God can provide. She wanted to argue, to stand by her decision, but his words lingered, a seed planted deep within her weariness. "And what if I don't know how to let it go?" she asked, her voice small and uncertain. Pastor James leaned forward, his eyes locking onto hers. "Start by letting God in. He has a way of lightening burdens if only you allow him." Tolani pondered his words long after he left, the salon empty except for her thoughts. She moved around the shop, adjusting combs and brushes, but her mind was miles away. Finally, she sat down, her heart heavy with conflicting emotions. She reached for the Bible again, the familiar weight grounding her as she flipped through its pages. In her solitude, memories of her mother's gentle teachings stirred her spirit. Her voice, long silenced, whispered through her thoughts, not condemning but inviting her back to a place of peace. Tolani closed her eyes, the hum of the city fading into the background. "God, help me," she murmured, the words falling from her lips like a confession. "Help me find the strength to forgive and to heal." The next Sunday, Tolani stepped into the small local church, a hesitant resolve in her step. The congregation's voices swelled in song, enveloping her in warmth and familiarity. Pastor James smiled as she entered, a knowing look passing between them. He spoke with fervor about redemption and the power of letting go, words that resonated despite the turmoil within her. As the service ended, Tolani remained seated, watching as families shuffled out. Pastor James approached with quiet encouragement. "You took the first step today, Tolani." Hit with a wave of emotion, she nodded, tears gathering but not falling. "It's hard," she admitted, her voice thick with unresolved pain and an unexpected hope. "God never said it would be easy," Pastor James replied, resting a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "But he promises it will be worth it." A few weeks later, Tolani stood at the shoreline, the ocean's rhythm soothing her unsettled heart. She held a letter, written but unsent, to Kunla. It was her way of releasing her pain, to express forgiveness that had slowly seeped into her heart from surrender. With a deep breath, she let go of the letter, watching it drift away on the wind, like her last ties to the past she was ready to release. Returning to her salon, Tolani found unexpected peace in her work. The faces of her clients, the normalcy of routine, and the quiet moments spent in prayer began to reshape her world. Funke noticed the change, quirking an eyebrow as she watched Tolani smile genuine for the first time. "You look different," she remarked one afternoon. "I feel different," Tolani admitted, an unburdened light in her eyes. Sitting together later, under the stars, Tolani finally voiced what she had come to understand. "It wasn't Kunle or the money that held me down," she said, gazing up at the vast sky. "I was trapped by my own pain, my need for things to be fair." Funke nodded, understanding and compassion in her gaze. "And what of all that is lost?" Funke asked softly. Tolani smiled, her heart light. "God can restore anything, maybe not in the way I expected, but in ways I truly need." As they sat in the night's embrace, Tolani knew the journey was far from over, but she at last had the faith to face it, not with revenge, but with the grace that only Christ could offer. This was the beginning of her healing, her redemption, with God as her guiding light.
Thank you so much for listening to this intriguing story. I hope it touched you or taught you something. For more stories like this, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the page. And guys, if you'd like to see a part 2, or you have thoughts on what happened, let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. See you in the next story.